Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. How are you all doing out there today? I hope everything is going well in your world. I just wanted to thank you for spending a little bit of time with me every single day. And even if you just dip in for a couple of episodes a week, that's totally cool too. And today's guest is Vijay Sajja from Evergent, whose customers include cable and satellite companies, telecommunication and wireless organisations, and media and entertainment businesses all around the globe. And Evergent is a leading provider of revenue and customer management solutions, but for the digital economy, because their enterprise-class software essentially enables companies across the digital media value chain to track and collect payments from subscribers and distribute royalties to partners and so much more. So I wanted to learn more about how their out-of-the-box capabilities can enable, develop, distribute and deliver media experiences from everything from advertising, videos, gaming, applications, music, all with one unique aspect to achieve faster time to market and business model flexibility while also lowering the risk. So come with me on a virtual trip to the US where we're going to speak with Vijay about all that and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Happy to, Neil. I'm Vijay Sajja, founder and CEO of Evergent. We are based headquartered here in Silicon Valley. I live here. We've been here for 12, 13 years. And I have two daughters. They're college going. And we have offices around the globe. And so what we do is we help media companies and service providers monetize content. As you all well aware, right? There are different ways of consuming content. You got Netflix, HBO, and many other sources of content available, different types of digital services. Where we come in is, we eliminate friction for people to buy these services. We handle what we call user life cycle management. So people to go and browse these services, different service options they have, and then register for those, whether it's a free trial or a subscription, and our free trial leading to a subscription. We handle the user lifecycle management to these customers around the globe.
And a question I've got to ask for EJ is, because something I love to do on this Daily Tech podcast is also find out a little about the story behind a company. So what led you to start Evergent? Can you remember that moment of inspiration?
Yeah, so, sometimes you look back and, it's kind of, you connect the dots. And I've been in the space 25 years or so. I'm kind of dating myself. But one of my early projects in the US I was involved in was with Home Shopping Network, right? This was before the e-commerce days, and, people would be ordering things to IVR systems, if people remember IVR systems, right? So I was part of a team that built systems that could take 20,000 phone calls or 20,000 orders at any given time. And then I was also involved with some cable companies. Back in the day, the way to order pay-per-view movies was through IVR systems, right? And so my prior company to this company, I had several cable customers, telecom customers as customers. They all struggled to launch new services and struggle with lack of flexibility. To give you an example, in one instance, they wanted to launch a new product in the state of Kansas, and the IT department came back and said, look, we don't have any product codes left because we only had 2 bytes in the mainframe, right? So back to the pay-per-view ordering, and it was really cumbersome, and they were paying 35 cents a movie, to give you an example, right? So much so that a lot of these cable companies, they tried to build their own back office, front office systems. Some of them invested hundreds of millions of dollars, and TCI at that time invested $150 million to build their own billing system, a subscriber management system or user lifecycle management system, however you call it. Time Warner spent a bunch of money. Interestingly, they all failed. And I'm an engineer at heart, and I really saw those failures, of these companies who were my customers. So we were more of a consulting company back then. Got the idea from there and said, look, they love to hate what they have. Here's an opportunity to help them to build a completely new way of building back office, front office. So Evergent really comes from, E stands for a new way of engaging with customers. And Evergent comes from convergence of various services. So we built the platform to run the back office, front office of a large cable or satellite TV company. Our idea was to replace the systems they have. And then, again, it was a great product, but from a go-to-market perspective, I realized it was pretty hard to sell a replacement strategy. And, we had to find a way to push the product to market. And then we, figured out we got to find people that are launching new services, our existing service providers launching new services. So we jumped on the bandwagon of streaming services before they were big. I mean, we used to sponsor OTT Con 10, 12 years ago. And back in the day when people were asking, hey, what is OTT, right? It's so that's kind of the backstory. Fast forward to today, we, on behalf of our customers, onboarded over 500 million users onto our platform across the globe. We touched people in majority of the countries with the exception of maybe a dozen, because some of the OTT services or streaming services were involved in their global. We have over 300 employees, and it wasn't all smooth sailing. We were definitely not an overnight success, to say the least. So that's been the kind of the journey. Saw the problem with the large operators struggling with the inflexible systems. We wanted to help them out, and then actually ended up helping them do new things, and also helping some of the broadcasters and content providers that have never been in the direct-to-consumer business, right? Like the Foxes or Sonys or etc. So come full circle, and we're actually going back to helping them reduce dependence on these legacy systems now. So
it's a great story, and 500 million users is phenomenal. But for people that are listening to this podcast today and hearing about Evergent for the very first time, can you just tell me a little bit more about how you would describe it to people listening, and what sets you apart from all the competitors out there?
Yeah. So it's a great question. I mean, so we do our customers, struggle with 3 things, right? 3 big things. One is time to market. They often want to launch something. They want to launch it yesterday, right? I mean, for some of our customers, the new entrants, the Amazons, Netflixes, Google, and Facebook, known as FANG, they're kind of eating their lunch, right? I mean, they need to quickly figure out a new way of engaging with customers and come up with the services that the market is looking for, right? So time to market is one thing we do really well. It's a cloud-based, highly configurable platform. So that's one thing they are looking for. The second thing is once they launch it, based on market feedback, quickly change. And so if you look at some of these operators, they're not used to quickly changing things, right? And some of them were built during the regulatory era. Some of the systems they have, change takes 6 months or a year, right? Which is not possible. I mean, you just can't do it like that these days. I mean, if you look at Amazon, they change things on a dime, right? So the flexibility to change things on the fly, that's the other thing we provide to them. And the third is, being able to operate, without needing, hundreds or sometimes thousands of people, right? And it's as I mentioned, it's a cloud-based, highly configurable platform, easy to use. They can run our platform with 10% of the people they would need with the other systems, right? So those are the three main benefits. There are a whole bunch of other ones, but those are the three main ones.
And obviously here in 2020, loads of businesses of all sizes have been struggling this year because of the pandemic. And I would imagine that the world of streaming has actually had a bit of an upturn. But from your own point of view, how has the over-the-top streaming landscape been faring lately? Are there any trends that you're seeing there?
We have seen definite uptick in terms of, people, they're staying at home and they have more time, and this is well written everywhere. But some streaming services, for example, they are designed to be consumed out of home. QB is a good example. And then we have another customer, a fairly large one in the Middle East. They launched in 12 different countries. We're very happy to be part of that. Even they designed their product for pre-COVID, as an out-of-home experience, right? So, for example, their focus was more on Android, iOS devices, not so much lean back and in the home viewing experience. So some of those have suffered a bit because it's well known. QB raised a lot of money. They launched the product, but the uptake hasn't been there because they really designed these bite-sized videos out of home, right? So with those exceptions, it definitely has been an uptick. The other example I would give you is, COVID fundamentally changed things for certain people. Right? To give you an example, we had a film festival, Chattanooga Film Festival in Tennessee. They wanted to, the people that organized the film festival, passionate about films. They did this every year. They were supposed to do this in April, right? And obviously you couldn't have a film festival during COVID, right? So they wanted to go virtual. They had no idea, how to even go virtual, right? I mean, how do we, sell the passes? How do we securely store and stream these movies? These, independent producers trust them with, and then, and how do we monetize all this? So we help them with that, and I'm super proud of our team. And it's not so much for the money we made, but we made that happen. We partnered with that one, Microsoft, MediaKind, and us. We partnered together to make that successful. Right? They actually had more people enjoy the film festival. People traditionally that haven't been able to make it to the film festival. They had many testimonials from users thanking them for organizing the film festival. There are some other things they have done interesting is that they brought in guests. It's hard to bring physical guests to a film festival, but they had some celebrities come and participate in virtual events. That wouldn't have been possible. That's kind of my commentary on COVID and streaming.
Love it. And obviously, it is an incredibly crowded market at the moment. And as someone that's working right in the heart of this industry, how do you think OTT streaming services can compete in that crowded, overcrowded market? Is there any tips or advice or any insights you can share on that?
Yeah, so I think content is definitely king in
Yeah.
this area, right? Do you have a good product, right? So that's super critical. Everybody knows that. Uh, the second thing is user experience. How easy it is for the consumers to browse, search, and consume content. So user experience is number two, and the third is are you reaching the right people, right? Is your offer flow and the buy flow, quick, easy, seamless? So we have done some innovations in this area. For example, right? Let's say it's a user uh, logging on to a site. He has the latest iPhone, and he's on a super fast Wi-Fi network in Indonesia. What's the right product for this person, right? And what's the right payment method? So in parts of the globe, um, the credit card is not the only form of payment, and there will be 10 other different types of payments and wallets and things like that. So really, paying attention to those aspects. And one other most important one is that how do you go to multiple markets at the same time, right? Um, Many of the streaming services, as you know, they are deployed in multiple countries. Some of them may be regional. We are involved with all of those, but really thinking about one size fits all doesn't work, right? I mean, so something that would work in India would be quite different from something that would work in Australia, for example, right? In terms of the way the product is presented, the payment methods, and etc. Right? So these are all, of course, let's say you got the content figured out, you got the user experience reasonably figured out, and all of these other elements I mentioned, they become kind of the make or break, for many of these streaming providers.
And something else I read about you was about how subscription services can actually benefit from digital transformation. So for anyone that's missed that, can you expand on that? And also how they too can actually start their own digital transformation journeys as a result? Because it's such a journey for everyone at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. So in a way, subscription services and in general, even this kind of COVID is forcing a lot of these companies to take a relook at the way their e-commerce flows work, the way their self-care flows work, and so we have seen instances where companies traditionally relied on their retail presence. Even in the U.S., a place like U.S., right? So you would be surprised how many service providers rely on their retail presence and people coming through and buying these, communication services and so what's happening is that the digital transformation, a completely new way of engaging with the customer and making it frictionless, effortless, in terms of buying these services, even canceling these services and upgrading and downgrading, changing their payment methods, etc. And COVID is forcing the issue for many of the operators. But even pre-COVID, these new types, even our journey, if you look at it, right? So some of the largest service providers we're involved with, they were forced to come with these lightweight digital services that can be spun up very quickly, right? And the agility and the speed to market. So that's kind of what we help them with. But really, to your point, these subscription services are forcing businesses, both traditional and non-traditional, to transform the way they interact with the customers in the digital transformation. And in some cases, COVID is accelerating that trend.
And it really is. And also, I think businesses of all sizes from every industry are also exploring how they can do more with less and exploring new revenue opportunities. So in the world of OTT streaming services, how do you think they can better leverage their current consumer base for exploring new revenue opportunities? Is there anything that you've seen around that?
I feel this is an unexplored territory for many of them, right? And there's a great opportunity for, creative thinkers at these companies, right? So we have seen some of them, but it's completely untapped, in my opinion. For example, it may be a successful subscription VOD service where they have a bucket of content that consumers are subscribing to. What about a creative transactional VOD bundle, right? The movie releases are being delayed. Can you come up with an Independence Day themed set of movies, maybe with the 1 or 2 new movies in it, and then offer that for over a period of 2-week period for a price? Okay, so these 10 movies, a bucket of these 10 movies, some of them are new in there, and you have access to these 10 movies these 2 weeks, and you pay $5, whatever that amount is, right? Kind of like a mini film festival, so to speak, right? It's not many people are doing things like that. So really thinking about some transactional type of stuff on top of subscription VOD, and it may not be. They may be very selective on who they offer to, even in their subscription database. Now, this is where some artificial intelligence, machine learning would come into play, where, okay, based on these criteria, these consumers are likely to take up this type of product or service, So, and you can have a myriad of those and really offer to those that would enjoy those, right? So that's a completely untapped potential. The one other category is live events. Can you combine with these transactional VODs and such, and with some live events, could be in the sports area or otherwise, So live events would be more like a pay-per-view event. Again, it may not be a one-size-fits-all. If you have a 20 million subscriber base, can you come up with a model where maybe 500,000 of those would be interested in some form of a live event, and can you put together, come up with a business model? So there are a lot of unexplored territories, unexplored ideas, where they can actually further monetize. It's not so much, taking more money from your existing user base, but also really adding value to your existing subscribers, to value they would desire, right? Really figuring out what would they desire and fulfilling those desires and making the money along the way,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious though, because you've got vast experience in this industry. So how have you seen the streaming service landscape evolve throughout the years? Because I would imagine it looks very, very different to just a few years ago, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I think we've been in this space for almost 12 years, and when we first started the journey, I remember going to these OTT conferences in San Jose. We used to sponsor them, And it was a necessary thing for us to bet on a new trend. Even though we built the platform to replace these large scale systems, from a go-to-market perspective, we needed to get onto something like this OTT streaming services, etc. So I remember going to these conferences and would be speaking with the analysts there, and many of them, almost 100%, they said that, look, this is just a fad, it's just a hobby, it's not going to, it's not going to take off, and the bundle would never be broken. And here we are 10 years later, bundle is pretty much broken. I mean, so all the pay TV industry, they have declining subscribers, but at the same time, a lot of new revenue is being taken by these streaming providers, right? So it has changed a lot, and it's now nobody questions whether or not this is going to stay or not. So the other thing we have seen is the broadcasters and the content creators. They started getting into this space more like a hobby, right? Even the likes of HBO, they relied on MSOs to distribute their product, the cable companies, and then they had a companion app, more like a hobby. Another example I would give you is a customer of ours, one of the largest broadcasters in India, Sony. They started as a hobby, and they said, okay, Sony Live, we'll, they were doing completely ad-based monetization when we were involved, 7 years ago with them, and then they quickly realized, based on the usage and the uptick, hey man, this is going to be a serious business. And we need some industrial grade components. So from ad-based monetization, they added subscriptions on top of that, and beyond subscriptions, they added transactional VOD and live sports. Being in the UK, I'm sure you're into cricket. India, Australia cricket series. Okay, you got to pay this price for it, etc. They also had World Cup streaming rights. So we have seen them evolve from ad to subscriptions to TVR to live sports. They just released their 2.0 product. Massive improvements in terms of user experience, and now they're going international, going beyond India, right? I mean, and so that's kind of the successful ones are going beyond borders, because unlike before, you don't need to have a network to provide these services. People can be on any network and sign up for these services, right? So it's a kind of an exciting and evolving space, and it keeps us on our toes, and in terms of our because we want to give that competitive advantage to our customers, and so they are staying ahead of the game, so to speak. So yep.
It really is an exciting time. It seems to be moving ahead at such a rapid pace. So what do you see changing in the foreseeable future for the streaming market across the globe? What does the future hold, both for the industry and for you guys at Evergent too?
Yeah. So for us, we built the platform to handle any type of subscription service, and Evergent comes from convergence of various types of services. For our company, we'll be looking at other verticals, where companies that are going from traditionally, offline to online, and combining OTT services with the different types of services and 5G, IoT, So we have a huge market opportunity as a company. In terms of the streaming services themselves, they'll continue to evolve, and really the personalization. Can we provide what Neil likes, right? Yeah. I mean, to that level of granularity with the technology and cloud, with artificial intelligence and machine learning, and so that is quite possible. That's quite possible to really speak to if you have 30 million subscribers, but can you speak to each one of them individually, because everybody is unique, right? So I think that potential is there. And unlike before, it's all a digital engagement. You know who they are, and what their preferences are. What is kind of scary in some ways, right? You know what Neil is watching and what he might like, and can we even do experiments over time and learn over time, and so that's the way, not just for subscriptions in general, the way things are trending, and again I go back to really providing value to we are a big believer as a company. One of our core values is always think about what's the value you are providing, right? So if companies think in terms of all this technology and power, but really focusing on the value you can provide to the end user, and those that do that and leverage technology and they'll be super successful, and things will take care of it themselves.
Excellent. And for anyone listening that would like to explore what you do at Evergen a little bit more, and how you offer those out-of-the-box capabilities that enable them to develop, distribute, or even deliver digital media experiences, what's the best way of keeping up to speed with you guys, and also contacting your team if they've got any questions?
Yeah. So they can, of course, our web address is evergent.com, EVERGENT, evergent.com. They can reach me at CEO@evergent.com. And if they want more information about our products and services, they can reach us at sales@evergent.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the show notes just so people can find you guys nice and easily. There's so much I've loved about our conversation today, because you do have vast experience in the industry, and hear how you came up with that idea. You've been on that whole journey to 500 million users. But what I love most about what you guys are doing there is it's user experience to deliver value that's at the heart of everything that you do. So yes, you're a tech company, but it's that user experience that's at the heart of it all. So a big thank you for taking the time to share that with me today.
Hey, thank you, Neil. Have a great weekend, and let's chat later. Yeah.
Vijay has a vast expertise in technology and the video space, and for those reasons alone, I think it was great to get some time with him today and learn more from his insights about the great work that they're doing and the conversations that he's having with their partners. I think it's also important to mention that their team consists of serial entrepreneurs, video pioneers, and technical experts who have all grown companies and contributed to successful product and company launches industry-wide. But I'm interested, as always, not just what I think or even what the guest thinks. I want to know what you think. So my inbox is always open to you all. You can find me at techblogwriter@outlook.com. If you don't know by now, Neil C. Hughes, you'll find my Instagram, LinkedIn and Twitter. And my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. But that's it for another episode. Is it just me, or is the days, weeks, months, and even years flying by? Stop the world, I want to get off. But I'll return tomorrow, so a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.